Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
I've said this many times before, we're going to need 1 billion healers here.
So those healers are us.
Us.
And we have to step up to the plate and learn first how to heal ourselves.
Yep.
Because you can't heal somebody else till you heal yourself.
And if somebody else doesn't want to be healed, you can't make them.
And you can't make them, right. You're going against their, okay.
You like using the get up, stand up for your rights, but I like John Lennon's Instant Karma, mate.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't need to physically touch a person to exchange karma. Just words alone.
Yeah. Truth.
Yeah.
Truth.
Right. Truth. Stingingly cutting truth from the Akashic Record until they have to put their fingers in the ears and run away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I've been involved with some stuff, and like one of the themes that I've had with you, I've extended your remedy and resolve, and I've had the amnesty thing, but to me, I forgot to mention with that is that you get amnesty after put your weapons down. That's the key. You don't get amnesty without responsibility, So
I like to use the term when people actually go through, they melt down their tools of war and craft them into tools of peace. Okay?
Yeah.
Once they learn how to use the tools of war for the methods of peace, amnesty is there for you.
The thing is,
That's not hard. It's not hard. Really, it isn't. It's heart space awareness, knowingness, and trust of yourself.
Yeah. Because what you've said many times and throughout the years that you've offered stuff is that a lot of the species that are doing the bad are actually trapped themselves.
That's right.
And
totally trapped. Run by a light dictatorship, not a dark dictatorship.
Yeah. So the things that I've sort of had experience in is that those beings are sort of trapped and they're in fear, and they maintain their position and attitude and polarity and stuff because they seem like, from their perspective, that they've got no out. And if you offer them an amnesty after they put their weapons down, then they actually choose resolution and actually contribute to the resolution. And the thing is, you've got to offer them the sacred space and the trust for that. I don't know. It's a tough decision from that perspective because you feel. I know a lot of those beings felt like they've done a lot of stuff that they don't deserve it, And my attitude is there's always opportunity if you're willing to explore it, So, yeah.
So there's so many different layers within that 1 minute of what you just spoke. And one of the layers that I want to point out is a light dictatorship. A small elite form of light beings, positive beings, who are simultaneously doing negative with false light technology, are running a infrastructure that uses dark concepts as a means of forced evolution, and they use an archonic system, archon grid, to create the spiritual invasion, meaning those coming from this planet, and this planet have VIP in-line tickets.
Mm.
And then other beings that are waiting thousands of generations to be able to get in and have one lifetime, and then they get in and they realize the Arcana grid has changed everything about spiritual contracts here. So for the longest time, the perception of the Arcana grid was the only way you could get in until some people figured out how to break it. And that was by having other off-world beings come here and die here or have offspring here so that they could make their own grid with the planet separate of the belief system of the common surface and subsurface people. Because you can come here to have a relationship with just this planet separate of all of its life force.
Yeah, and you're creating the ancestor link. That's part
Right.
of what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting, mate, because there's a lot of potential, and it sort of feels that in one way it's a bit of a stalemate still, you know. But to me, it's like the key in that for me is actually just continue. Like, how can I raise my bar further? How can I be better and stuff like that? And I've sort of alluded to a few things, and I've been a part of stuff that's pretty amazing in its own respect, and that's sort of why I'm in the trenches with Andrew here, you know, because
We're not in the trenches.
well, it's a metaphor. it's side by side. I actually had a pretty good metaphor
We're in the
for it.
suburbs. We're in the suburbs. We graduated a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in a first world nation and
This
on Earth.
frequency, no, this frequency can't operate in the trenches. And the third world countries and the first world countries can be equally as bad or equally as good. So that's just a humanity concept. But it's when people are fully disempowered in embracing rage and instant gratification, that's the trenches.
Yeah.
When people truly aren't doing an ounce a day to help themselves. Okay? When they are totally lost to the system runs their next 25 years or the next 5 lifetimes. How do we get past it? Big question, isn't it?
Well, to me, you had a pretty cool guy that was at your event ring you up just after it, and he wanted to be an activist because
Yes.
he was from
Abreu, yeah.
Eritrea, I think, or Ethiopia. I think it's Ethiopia. Sorry, mate, if I got it wrong.
Sudan.
Yeah, but he was quite, you know, it was a serious situation around him, and he wanted to really get entrenched and involved. And you said, be a healer, go and do a healing, like learn healing and become a healer. Don't get engaged in that, because being an activist is a trap in certain respects, you know.
That's right.
Well, should we take our first caller?
I think so.
And our first caller is Abrea. Are you there?
Yes. Hey,
How you doing? Where are you calling from today?
I am calling from Washington, D.C.
Well, great. Welcome to the show. How long you been listening for?
Since I found you through N5D.
Mhm.
And it was one of those, just, I would like to say, like, it felt like a very underground, like, early recording with I remember you speaking about the galactic central suns. There's like 2 other neighboring galactic central suns, or 3 neighboring ones, and I've been able to like synthesize a lot of that information and make some writings and from those early days, and really just see like the fraudness of this linear experience. And
Well-
yeah.
Awesome. So what kind of questions do you want to ask?
I have a lot of questions, actually. Here, let me pull up my list that I made.
Oh, he has a list.
He's organized. There's a list.
He is organized.
Actually, Wesley, he was at the event. I was at the event as well. He told me just to get ready, and I was just thinking like, there's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, and but I also wanted to ask about equal co-creation.
Okay.
And working with the trees, because I feel like I tend to give my power away to like, just things that have helped me greatly, teachers, mentors, basically what I wanted to ask was, how do I, get into equal co-creation as opposed to, giving my power away and then feeling like imbalanced at the end of it,
Okay.
That's
that's a really, really good question, and something a lot of people struggle with is these two words, equal co-creation. So in your basic definition, what does it mean to you?
It means that, basic definition, you have something to offer, I have something to offer, and we find a way to make it benefit the whole, or benefit us each other equally, if not the whole.
So here's a little bit of an expansion. Equal co-creation doesn't always have an agenda. It has results. Results and agendas are two different things. And our expectations is what always will cloud equal co-creation. Equal co-creation is an application of the innocence of the inner child. Children at play are an equal co-creation. Sometimes it's one child leading the little story and everyone else following it, but that's still equal co-creation.
Right.
Okay? Equal co-creation also functions when you are using other singularity words to modify the word equal co-creation, healing. That means two people are going to equally heal. One may exchange energy so one can heal, another will exchange energy so another can heal, but is not on this linear timeline. Equal co-creation doesn't follow linear results, linear rules, linear expressions. So when you have two people who are married and they use the word, well, we're going to go into some form of equal co-creation, that means there's an upload and download of your problems, issues, stuff that's going around you. And whenever you feel you're not in equality, you come together to retain equality in each of you. Thus why you keep giving your power away.
Because of the linear illusion
and the expectations that come with each moment to moment of creation. So equal co-creation is the signification of no time, no linear time, and that our creation and co-creation together is an equality of energy exchange.
I still feel like I'm in linear time in a lot of ways, but
and you are.
That's what
let me finish. You won't be out of linear time until you start living in two times at once. Okay? I did that between 9 and 16, where I was challenged to live in two places at once. Challenged by my own need to accept my own skill and my own frequency and my own power, meaning there was no duality and no separation. So my dream world and my physical world could simultaneously exist in equal co-creation and non-competition. This is why you keep, as you were saying, giving your power away. You were raised on competition. Everyone in this world is. You can't help it. Okay? When you start using equal co-creation in combination with non-competition, you'll understand why we give our power away to those that can win the race.
It's like this momentous feeling of giving my power away sometimes. Like sometimes there's like a lot of energy behind it. But what really helps me is I can just take that to a tree, and the tree just gives it right back, Right.
And that's why when I did those meditations, so you can understand there's a way that men give and receive power, and there's a way that women do it. Okay? Two different expressions, and both men and women need to learn both processes. Okay? So
I was doing the advanced heart. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was doing the advanced heart yesterday, and I had a friend, a fellow alchemist, and he works with Kangen water, And it was very synchronistic because I like to work with water alchemy. I have an ozone generator. And Kangen, are you familiar with Kangen water?
Yes, I am.
And he's from California, and people from California are like the West Coast in general tend to have like pure water. Everything's like, you know, from the foundation up. You know, there's no like property or like piece that's unaccounted for.
Right.
And and I was just and we're pretty much at a phase where we have a lot of information, been putting out a lot of information, and so we just released a YouTube video yesterday. And you can just check it out. It's just my name, Abra Habrahanu, at YouTube, and it's really just, that's really what I'm passionate about, is just essentially putting out nutrition. And we were talking about like the healing space, and how basically I would rather go see him than go to a medical doctor. And then I was just feeling like more compassion, like the medical doctors are actually going to have to come see us too, you know. And
actually it's going to have to be a synthesis, because there are situations where faith will not heal. The American Indians learned that about the smallpox. Okay, people learn this about cancer every day, AIDS every day, and drugs are not bad, and that is the healer industry using propaganda to their disadvantage. Okay, example, you know, if you're in pain, you take an aspirin. So many people want to use Annika. Annika doesn't do anything for pain. It just does for bruising. Okay? So if you are an experienced alchemist and you are able to self-medicate, that's great. But at some time, there always will come an expression when you are out of your league. And I mean out of your league.
And I will have to ask you, I did want you to scan me health-wise, and if there's anything going on in my gut, and if there's anything going on with me, because at the same time, like how you said, it's hard to observe yourself in some situations, you know. And I'm just at the point where I'm beginning to consider.
In some scenarios, it's impossible for people to observe themselves, because they've reached a point where so much of their reality has been what I call redacted, meaning they live in some form of denial, and that many of their choice points are based on not the facts of reality. Like, there are people who live in vanity or ego maybe 30% of their life, but that 30% actually is the biggest choice points of their life. So when they end up with cancer or AIDS or anything else later in the life, everything they were in denial about comes up. And as soon as death is on the line, all that other stuff comes up. This is why the two medicines have to synthesize together. Okay? And that's for all the other healers out there that think you can tell someone, you know, with whatever it is they have, if they're in pain, they're in pain. You cannot let chronic pain go. But when it comes to you individually, there's a variety of things that are going on here. Did you travel out of the United States recently?
Yes.
I was
in Eritrea, Eritrea, right on the Red Sea, north of Ethiopia.
And you're drinking the water there?
Not from the bottled water, yeah.
But I think you have some form of parasite in your gut, actually. Have you been doing some form of vegetarian diet that's really not working?
Yes.
How long have you been doing it now for?
I went 2 years.
So
vegan.
So,
yeah.
And what kind of gut issues are you having now?
Honestly, I've been diagnosed with chlamydia. I didn't know I had it. 2013. I know who it's from, and I just didn't think that, you know, I had it. Mm-hmm. And then as I went there to that country, I decided to actually take, like how you said earlier, I had to synthesize. I had to get whatever. I had to medicate with whatever they would give me. You know, those whatever pill they give for the clap, and I decided to do that while I was out there.
And you got bad drugs.
Yeah.
So you need to go see a doctor and go on a heavy dose of the specialized antibiotics for that. And also understand that when you got bad medicine over there, bad water over there, it was a disaster for your body and your spirit. Because right now, I would say at least 40% of the available energy you've had from the last 2 years is completely gone to feed something else inside you.
Right. That's why I'm not in worse condition.
Right.
I see.
So I want to bring Kathy in here and talk about what she also sees in the medical perspective too, and for your motivation.
Hi, I really am not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it
Abraha?
Abraha. All right, excuse me,
it's okay.
I really have to say I 100% agree with what Andrew says, because to me that's the first thing I saw too. And I also am thinking it's somewhere overseas that this has been picked up. To me, it doesn't matter if you thought that you were only drinking bottled water. You know, there are 10,000 other ways that water gets into your mouth that you don't even realize. So, you know, these things happen when you're in countries like that. It's impossible to be a vacuum.
Right. There is no running water, Kathy. There is no running water and no lights. This nation is almost completely free, the only problem is that they have to militarize everyone so that they can pretty much block out the third world countries. They didn't accept aid, so I felt really good going over there, and I felt really good, but at the same time I knew there was going to be, some form of.
I mean, these things happen. Let's not even worry about that anymore. I think that. Definitely, you should go and get this checked out, get some antibiotics. I do definitely agree with that. I think a lot of the natural possibilities that I might consider, I don't think they're going to be effective enough for you. You're going to need something like to turbo boost this out of you. But I'd say that whatever treatment they want to do with you, to me, it looks like it's short. So it's not a, several months treatment. I think whatever they can do it in a shorter span of time. So it's not as invasive as you might think it's going to be. One of the things I would also like you to consider is to cut down on sugar. There's all sorts of places that sugar comes from. So it's very difficult to eradicate sugar out of one's diet at all. I mean, altogether. But to me, it's like whatever is hitchhiking inside you thrives on sugar. So if you can somehow decrease the amount of sugar that you are intaking, this will also help things a lot more, because it won't be, as healthy, I guess we could say. It sounds so sad to say that we don't want it to be healthy, but you know what I mean? Like, I won't starve it, and it won't do you damage to decrease your sugar, but it will make it weaker, which is good, because if it's in a weakened state, it's easier to get rid of, right? I also think that, to me, it looks like sometimes you've been getting a bit dizzy, not dizzy like stand up, I'm going to fall down dizzy, but like, sitting down.
Like I have to go to sleep right then and there while I'm trying to stay awake.
Yeah. Well, look, that's the music coming in. Can you just hold on and we'll catch this up once the ads are over?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone, to Adventures into Reality with myself, Kathy Ma, and the amazing Andrew Bartzis, Galactic Historian. Okay, so we're back to our call now. We were talking about sometimes you feel a bit heady. And one of the things that I am seeing about this is it's almost like you have an imbalance, in your brain, in your head. I don't want to say it's just a chemical imbalance. It's like an imbalance. Like energetically speaking, it's an imbalance. But to me, it's like things are not really lined up in an optimum way, shall we say. And one of the things I would really like you to consider is maybe getting a few craniosacral sessions.
I received 3 from a 5-star Upledger, and it was I think I did this before I went overseas on the trip where I got sick. I did 3 colonics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I did I think I did the last 2 craniosacral therapy sessions a little too close together. But I know I need to go back again. Even right now as I speak, my posture isn't even, as it should.
I think you'll find that, there was a pre-existing condition, which is probably what the CST person was addressing. But with this parasite thing as well, it also affects all sorts of levels, dopamine levels, etc. in your brain. There's just no accounting for the side effects of this having a burden like this inside you. So I would definitely.
I'm sure my parasympathetic is having fun with that.
A rodent.
I'm sure.
A rodent inside your central nervous system is the best way to describe it.
All right.
Yeah. So you really, if you can get some work with that, I think you will find that, like, if we have to ballpark it right now, and let's assume that you can go and get some treatment for this thing as well. If you were to do this, or let's say you start getting your treatment tomorrow in an ideal scenario, and you can go through the course, and you had some cranial treatments, and let's assume it's like 1 a week or something for now, then I would imagine that after about 2 months, this heady thing that you feel should dissipate to almost hardly existing. So that's the kind of time frame you would be looking at if we were working in those kind of conditions.
Okay.
So whatever, that fits in with your schedule, you can kind of at least, it's always helpful to know a time frame so that you can apply it to your everyday life. And, if you, sometimes when you're going through it, you're like, oh, will this ever end? So at least that way.
It's my fault. It's my fault for not looking into it. I just, it's on me. I'm not, it's kind of at the end of the day what I did to myself, and I recognize that, you can like Andrew says, you can rationalize anything of why I didn't decide to do it, and this honestly leads to another. Oh, okay.
Well, let's just address that for a minute. When you said it's your fault, I think that's really an unfair statement to give yourself. That's a lot of pressure. I mean, sometimes when you're not aware of what's going on, you don't take action, and by the time something's happened, you not always have action to be taken available to you. So at least you are addressing it now. We're looking at it now, and you will take action. So, I just don't like that kind of wording, because I think your body takes it on, and I think it's unfair to your body for you to say.
What? It's like the Rubik's Cube. It's like the Rubik's Cube.
But also, it's your mindset. I want you to realize that, sure, that there are some things you could have done, but considering, everything that's gone on, you did a pretty good job, right?
Yeah. I feel great now as I'm talking to you. I feel awesome, actually.
Okay, well,
that's yeah.
It's the
but I
healing
sense what you're feeling
of voice.
Yeah.
That's what
exactly.
Another thing I want to ask you is, when you were over there, would you say that you saw some bad stuff?
Horrible stuff. I saw my little cousins go to a military camp out of their free will. I wanted to. It brought out a zealot side of me that I don't even want to get into.
Well, I'm asking you because I think this is part of what you've taken on board. I mean, I'm not going to say that you're in denial of it, because you do recognize it, but you have to process that. If you don't process it, I just
came back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just came back from the embassy, and I may have to go back again because my grandpa is in critical condition. So everybody, if you can send a healing treatment to that region of the world, he really needs it.
What is your grandfather's name?
Kasai Tekle.
And he's in Ethiopia.
In Eritrea.
Oh, sorry, in Eritrea.
It's right. Yeah, it's right. He's in the capital city, Asmara, of that country, and it's pretty interesting. I'd like to hear the Akashic record on that city. It used to be an Italian colony. I feel like the history around that would be a pretty awesome read. Let's go back to some of this bad stuff. I don't want to hop on about it, but I want us to help you get through it a bit, because the more we can reconcile this for you, the more your soul can be free of it to a degree in terms of the emotion. So I know it's a lot of this will be a bit hard to talk about, but do you mind telling us a little bit? No, I don't mind. So I saw there's a military camp there called Sawa, which is where everyone after 12th grade has to go and learn how to shoot. It's basically so that the U.S. and all these governments don't come in there, and that they have some form of military force, which is I don't know, something that I've always felt like I wanted to, so that there wouldn't, you know what I mean, like there wouldn't be domination and control. But it's like they had to. The only way to exist outside of domination and control is to be in domination and control again. And it just, for me, it was just kind of frustrating. And it just recognized, and then, you know, really the ultimate lesson what really calms me down is just the fact that if one person suffers, everyone suffers. You can't just have like your own little island of like technically free dominion. And so it was just kind of a frustrating thing where I kind of recognized that I had to come back here, and I had to, you know, work on my website and work on everything that I was doing online with, you know, the resources that I had, and but it was frustrating just seeing. I saw, you know, people basically with nothing, you know, everywhere, and like jealousy on the highest levels.
So
Sage,
it's the poverty,
incense, crystals, all that stuff. I brought my whole. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying, so it's the deep despair of the poverty and the
Yes.
wanting a better life that you can see in people's eyes, that desperation.
They know where you're from. As soon as they don't need to even,
They see the light in
anything.
they see the light in your eyes and the food in your stomach, and they're jealous of your ability to live.
It's a very hard place to be.
And it's affecting your soul more than you are even letting on to yourself.
It's very hard, very, very hard to be the one that walks down a street when you have that many eyes looking at you and you know why they are, because it's very difficult to tell yourself not to feel guilty because you didn't do this to people. But you see it in their eyes, the judgment, the want, and, you know, it breaks your heart and your soul cries. It really does. And it's something that you can't just, okay, I saw that and now we're gone and I'm just going to think about it every now and then. No, you carry that in yourself. You carry it in your heart. You carry it in your soul. And it takes a while for you to understand or recognize that this is an existing situation, but it's not on you, you know. The guilt that you will feel and even may not recognize that it is guilt. It's not for you. You know, it's not for you to carry that. It's not for you to have that burden. It's not for your soul to keep crying continuously because you didn't do it.
Yeah, it's like every time I step out again, it's like I try to forget about it after it happens each time. You know, and now that you bring this up, yeah, it's something that I have to confront head on, and not, you know,
It's not a confrontation. It's not a confrontation. It's a forgiving. And I mean a forgiving. Eternal forgiveness. Your soul has seen this 10,000 times in 10,000 different eras. Absolute despot poverty, surrounded by military. Okay? It's forgiveness for you now. You got to forgive the world. Can you do that? With all the crap that you've seen, can you forgive the world? I did. That's why I can do what I do. I have forgiven every transgression, past, present, and future. It isn't easy. No matter what you think, it isn't easy. But you're at a point where you can take forgiveness to a whole new level for yourself. I see the activist soul in you. And I'm going to tell you now, you will be a zealot activist if you don't heal this. And you will do your soul a great disservice by being a zealot activist.
So I shouldn't even think about going back over there,
Absolutely.
even despite what's going on with my...
Absolutely not. It will be more torture, more pain, and more ghosts.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was just at the embassy just now before I called, and I was just, you guys really came at the right time, because that choice point was pretty huge.
Uh-huh.
And, my mom is just pulling on my energy, and she's, and I feel like, okay, maybe if I go there in full force, maybe I can
go there
create
in full
change.
force. If you go there in full force with the light, the demons will descend on you. The demons of shame, blame, and guilt in yourself. You will be disempowered, and you will come back spiritually disemboweled. You are not prepared for the ancestral energies there. You can do more healing from where you are right now than you are be able to be next to their side.
So I just have to forgive.
So for many, many years, I counseled people that were going through life-altering, life-ending medical scenarios. And many of them told me their stories. And I'm crying at this one. A lady named Donna. She was an activist in Egypt, in Ethiopia, and Somalia, aid worker. Give me a second here. And on her deathbed, on her deathbed, she confided into me how corrupt the aid organizations were, and how much it saddened her soul that all the work she had done was sullied by that. And I remember telling her, only with hindsight do you see that. But the person that was there was in full love and doing what they could do best. And within a few hours, she passed on. I'm sorry. A few hours she passed on. But those few words helped her understand what her real mission was, were the individual people she was helping. And I hope that story helps you growing into your future. The level of corruption that's in the aid industry, no one should be giving any money to it at all. Okay? You want to make real difference? Send them seeds so they can grow their own food. Send them books, how they can raise food in fish tanks.
I was thinking about having a huge organite. They're going through a drought, and I was thinking about using organite to maybe in different geometric shapes.
It's beyond it's beyond you right now. You're battling esoteric organizations who have imprinted that land for 5,000 years.
Shit.
Yeah, shit. Okay? I'm going to be brutally honest here. Brutally honest. We live in a world that's set in a frequency. And until we in our own minds can gather the power to make thought constructs that we can share with others that cannot be charged for, when we can freely share knowledge, wisdom, and information without exchanging negative karma, we are going to be stuck in this process. And I mean stuck. Until the people stand into their own power, their own sovereign conviction, let go of shame, blame, and guilt, self-heal and self-nurture, and all those other things that I've been talking about. One of the things that led me up into being a public speaker was the years of experience I had with people going through their end life process, and also the beginning life process, working with women that were pregnant and husbands that were trying to get their wives pregnant. So I've seen it from both ends. And when you want a life path that truly gives you that source connectedness back, being an activist, it will not repay you. It won't. Not in this world right now. Not until there's another way to do it. Being a spiritual activist, for those that want to be grid workers and are going out and doing all of their great work, you're but a spit in the bucket compared to the last 10,000 years of esoteric processes. You need to stop playing in their field and create your very own thought construct that doesn't interact with the rest of history and the rest of technology and the rest of spirituality. Until people truly see that, we will be in this ever-evolving process of healing thyself, knowing thyself, so that we can stand into the power of the self.
Spit in the bucket.
Spit in the bucket.
Yeah.
I know that from the highest density levels that I've reached. I've spoken through time streams to 25 million other beings. I've watched an entire species be murdered through the Akashic Record. Let me tell you something. I've seen my share of stuff. And every time the lesson always comes back to the same. Why those people failed in that time. They didn't self-heal. They didn't self-nurture. They didn't let go of shame, blame, and guilt at the density levels they were at. History in our past has created spiritual zealots, which is why we are at here now. There aren't enough authentic spiritual people who are not gurus or zealots operating in the functional reality.
So how do we further? Oh.
One of my hardest things of coming on and being public was not wanting to be a guru, but ultimately knowing inside it was going to happen anyways. No matter how much I denied it, people would give away their power because they don't actually want to do the work. And I learned that 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way up into my 20s until I realized there's nothing we can do to change people in any way, shape, or form. They ultimately have to do it on their own. But what we as healers can do is facilitate the removal of layers that stop perception or create paranoias, or worse, create self-defeating attitudes that ultimately wreck our lives. History is wrought with that. The Akashic Record history, our common history. So how do we do it? We got to go do the hard work, the inner healing work. And at times everyone thinks it's an alone journey. No, we have companions on that journey that help us remove the shame, the blame, the guilt, or anything else that comes through that. And right now I don't even think you realize how much shame, blame, and guilt your other self that's still over there is projecting back at you, the person that came home, forcing in you a set of ancestral actions that's going to lead you down a path of repetition of the old contracts that were never succeeded.
Yeah,
you can clear the board right now, flip the game over and say, I'm not playing this game. Break all contracts, vows, and agreement. Take back all your power. But then all the little thought creations you've had between the time you were over there and the time that you got back would have to fall apart. All those little hopes and dreams you created. No, they just go into memories. And the ones that truly survive are the ones that have inspiration to go from a future to a present, or from the past to the present. The past will always be a teacher. The present will always be our creation. And the future will always be our inspiration. Until we get lost in the future, where inspiration has become toxic hope. And that's where you're at right now. You're on that verge of having inspiration turning into hope to turn into toxic hope.
Yeah.
You cannot see yourself as a one-man political activist. You will fall. You will fall before you even get to the top. I want to bring Kathy.
Create a team.
I know. I want to bring Kathy in here, and I want to help bring a woman's perspective on caring, nurturing. I know what you're trying to be is caring and nurturing with these people, but there's more here, and a woman can give it in a different way.
Yes, definitely there is a lot of healing of your, let's call it your mind, your soul, that needs to go on. What you have witnessed firsthand doesn't just go away. And part of that journey is in the recognition of, it's just that, I guess to put it in a clear way, it's to recognize it, to see it for what it is, and to know it. It doesn't mean you have to take it on board. All of us are not champions for the world, but the fact that you know about it is another person witnessing it, and that is very powerful in itself. To take some action for yourself now, well, I guess that's not a good way to put it. The kind of action that you're talking about, that you're thinking of, to me, I agree with Andrew that it seems fraught with all sorts of problems, because you cannot change the system as one person. Whatever you take with you that you think is going to help, it's just such a, in the big picture, it's a minuscule bit. I'm not discounting that there will be some change, some help, but the
it's not me. it's over. Like how you said, it's beyond.
Yeah, like you don't want to think that you tried something and it didn't work, you know, because you sort of, that way you set your mind up for failure in that sense. It's the recognition of what's going on is really all it takes. If the whole world could recognize it, that would make the difference, you know. And for you, one of the things that you need to sort of think about over the next few months is how can you acknowledge it to yourself, to your mind, to your soul, and recognize it and not take it on board, because it's not yours to take on board. What you've seen is heartbreaking. It's not. It's that would be like saying every single war in this world, each of us has to take on board. But it's not. It's not our job. It's not our responsibility as one person. It's not our goal, our soul's goal, to recognize what's going on. If you really think you need to affect change, then you have to think about how is it that you will change people's understanding of it in the world, not in the country. The country already understands it. If you want...
And me asking...
Sorry, go on.
Me asking it's not... Sorry, I cut you off. Me asking it's not comes from... I basically grew up around my mom when the war broke out between Eritrea and Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
And she opened an Eritrean restaurant, which was a country that's just as new as the year when I was born, actually, 91.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the reason why I even ask it's not is because there's just some separation that I need to do from the programs that have been imprinted subtly into my subconscious from those days. Yeah.
Let me put it to you in a different way, so maybe you can view it in a different way. Look at what happened during the World Wars. Do you think that it's right that everyone who was German should bear that burden of what happened? I mean, it wasn't them. They're generations down. They didn't do anything, yet they still have to wear and bear a lot of the guilt because that's what the world is telling them. But it's not right. They're just born in the wrong place, the wrong time in terms of that type of thing, right? You can't expect, because you are of the same race, the same culture, that everything therefore is all on you and it's up to you to fix. No. Bad things happen to good people, and it doesn't matter what country it is, what race you are, what culture you are. There is a lot more going on and at play than meets the eye. And when you can see that bigger global thing going on, and then, you know, especially if you were to look at other countries, it might be easier for you to understand that, yes, it's being indignant, being angry, sure. I'm not saying that's not right, you know, because who isn't? But taking it on board and, you know, carrying it with you every day isn't going to help anyone. Not you, not them, not the world. If you really feel that much indignation and you need to do something, then you have to think about it more globally. What can you do to affect change of people's thinking, right? Because that's where you can affect change. That is something that you can think about. That is something that is helpful to another country and other people. That's the break. So if you just hold on, we'll come back to you after this break. Thank you. So we were just talking about recognizing things that are going on in the world and not taking them on board as your own responsibility. And one of the big things that you need to do is really recognize it for what it is. And often you'll find that in the pure recognition of it, you can really start to have that resonate within yourself. And if you truly believe that you need to do something about it, then you really need to start thinking about raising social awareness on a global level. Because to try and just target one particular place and take that on board and make change as one person, it is going to be almost impossible. I'm not saying impossible, but a very hard and miserable journey in many ways. It is very difficult to be able to separate yourself from something that you've seen that can be so devastating. But it's okay to be indignant. It's okay to be appalled. It's okay to be angry, but to take that on board as something that you need to go there and fix or help in many ways does not do your own body or soul justice. Does that resonate for you?
Oh yeah, I was just, I will laugh at myself. And last night I came back home after I went out, and I just, I recognize that, I must be wrong in some area, and sometimes that's the quickest way to, just center and ground. Just recognize that I was wrong. That was the way.
I think it's very difficult to separate emotion from logic sometimes. And because you've just been there, it's all very emotional for you. So being able to step back and see it from a more, I guess, outside perspective will really help you ground and help you resonate within yourself as to what you really think that you can do, as opposed to what you really want to do. Because we all have our own restraints, right? I mean, if only we were all Superman and could change things. But you have to be realistic.
Beginning, middle, and an end.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for calling. It's been wonderful to talk to you. It really has. And I'm sure your story has touched so many people's hearts. So thank you. You're already starting with the social awareness. Unbeknownst to you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Right.
All
right.
Have a good one. So
yes.
during the break, I was just sitting here in contemplation. I hadn't thought of Donna in years, many, many, many years. And as I was on the break, just listening to the music there, that was just a stream of tears came over me. And one of her messages to everyone that's listening, if anyone that's an aid worker or goes to other places to build schools and all that, here's her message to you. None of you came in to do that. You came in to be healers. Know the difference between being a builder, a food distributor, and a healer. Healers know how to do all because they can empathically feel what is needed in the area. And what he was going through, the gentleman that was just on, was the empathy of wanting to be a healer. So go be a healer. Learn all you can learn about healing. And that's how you can change this world. One healing at a time.
That's it. One healing at a time. Powerful, powerful words, yet so true.
Yep.
Thank you, Donna.
You had a pretty cool guy that was at your event ring you up just after it, and he wanted to be an activist because he was from
Abreu,
Eritrea, I think, or Ethiopia. I think it was Ethiopia. Sorry, mate, if I got it wrong.
Sudan.
Yeah, but he was quite. It was a serious situation around him, and he wanted to really get entrenched and involved. And you said, be a healer. Go and do a healing, learn healing and become a healer. Don't get engaged in that, because being an activist is a trap on certain respects,
The trap.
Last caller is James from the Glendale area.
James from Glendale, California. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hi, James. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I got through. That wheel of callers is no joke, man.
You made it. So what questions do you have for me and Seth?
Well, I heard you a while back talk about, I mean, you didn't discuss this in the interview, and if it's off topic, I can ask a different question. It's about fake Reiki and, how does one discern? Because I've been practicing a particular system called Reiki Tumo, since 2010. And
Does it track back in lineage to the Usui, Takata, or Hayashi method? Is there actual lineage trackage?
Bits of Usui, but with some subtle differences.
No. If in Reiki 2 you are not taught how to actually spin forward and backwards in time, then you aren't learning Reiki, you're learning a bastardization of it. That's the determination.
It's called Reiki Tumo meaning Kundalini.
Never heard of it.
This Indonesian computer scientist had an out-of-body experience. He had Kundalini syndrome and was basically slowly dying, and this entity named Baba G taught him this system, and it works beautifully for me, but it's like, how can I
check? Okay, I'm going to answer this, man. There's a difference between Kundalini and the Ruach.
Yes.
Okay. Kundalini goes up your spine, man. It's a very potent sexual energy, right? And this is
system. You get a Kundalini awakening,
Right. Just hear me out. Hear me out real quick, man.
Okay, sorry.
It's very potent with that specific energy. This is when people get into tantra. This is when people get into, the concept of sacred sexuality. I'm a level 1 Nigong Ruach practitioner, okay? And everything to do with Reiki, with Qigong, all of it, all goes back to Nigong. Nigong is when the individual learns the keys of self-mastery to be able to move energy with the mind. Qigong is specifically with breathing. Reiki, there's all these different techniques. I'm actually certified in Reiki myself. Okay, but for me personally, it all goes back to the first cosmic law. Everything in the occult, all these healing abilities, all these teachings, everything, it all goes back to the state of consciousness of the individual. And you got Reiki healers out there. You can go get certified in Reiki online, man, in a week. That's not any sort of initiation. This takes years. This takes decades to master. Okay? And if somebody is doing it and they're sick in the bed and dying, then they got all sorts of blocks in their system because of that Kundalini charge. It's very dangerous, actually, because people don't know the difference. And then, of course, it's promoted, in the spiritual communities that are out there doing whatever they're doing, and people wonder why they're suffering these ailments and stuff like that too, because they're not actually going through the real biospiritual regenesis. This is what we are offering with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and Occult Science. And again, it comes back to a personal gnosis, because what works for one person might not work for another person, depending on your disposition, psychologically, then getting into the system mechanics of your body, your bloodlines, your ancestors, everything. This is why it's happening, as far as I'm concerned. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, the fake systems out there are from people who never became masters themselves, that believed in this day and age that they could make a buck by writing a book and teaching a class. I started taking Reiki in 2002, became a master by 2003, had done over 700 patients by 2004, had done 1,700 patients by 2005, to working well over 5,000 patients. I mastered myself through patients, and when I taught Reiki to nurses that were at bird victim units, cancer units, hospice wards, it took a year to go from Reiki 1 to Reiki 2, and I did not break my rules because I followed my tradition that I was taught under. I learned Goshen scanning as well as Karuna Reiki, which was from a direct lineage. Now, so many systems completely miss the integrative teachings of what it means to be a practitioner. Reiki 3, which is taught over and over and over again, was never meant to be taught as a mass initiation system. It was only for those who wanted to follow psychic surgery and the deep understandings and requirements that it took of perspective, and the hundreds of clients that would be under your hands as part of a process of learning the commonalities of what healing is. You are a facilitator. And I will make a bold statement here. More people have died from bad kundalini than people who have ever smoked weed. Okay? Weed doesn't kill people. Kundalini can. And I have met dozens and dozens of practitioners who have people up by activating their kundalini who was not ready for it. That made impotent people, literally impotent, because you did not know what you were facilitating, because there were entities there and you were never trained about how to clear the entities in the lineage of the kundalini itself. I'm not bashing this individual teacher because I don't know them. What I'm saying in general, from a society that thinks you can become a master in a month, no, you can't. Until you've had 250 patients under your hands, you are a trivial peon of a healer. And that may be insulting to people, but until you've had a cancer patient die and you believed your faith was going to do it, but you have to go through the process of accepting, until you've had a burn victim unit on your hand and a person scream, until you've seen a soldier with their arm cut off and you're getting rid of their fake limb syndrome, until you have experienced what it is getting rid of someone that has fibromyalgia, until you've had 100 different cases, you are a practitioner. And to become a master means you have seen the entire gambit of how people screw themselves up mentally, physically, spiritually, and socially. For all that is within the energy. For wherever there is cancer, there is rage. For wherever there is cancer, there's an unresolved spiritual issue within the frequency that is giving a termination date. In each and every one of those termination dates can be stopped and altered by energy alone through the facilitation process of opening the proper corridors in the governing vessel, not the Kundalini process. For it'll be in the governing and the conception vessel that you bring the macro and microcosmic order back into balance, which is Qigong. An understanding of the flow of the universe. Reiki's roots are in those processes. Master Usui, that was the first practitioner, was a doctor in the 1900s in Japan who traveled all around India and the Orient, learning from the ancient masters what? Symbology, sigilology, and the understanding of flow. Each Reiki symbol is like a gear in a car. When used in the right way, in the energy superhighway of the body, you can move vast sums of energy or discover why vast sums of energy won't be stored in certain places. That requires experience. That requires time, effort, and energy to study. Because you have one system doesn't mean you only have one system. You have an infinite amount of systems out there that you should be practicing and learning. No one should be monomodality. You should have hundreds of modalities so you could draw upon a particular skill or style from one of those that you've mastered to fit that healing in the moment. That's my impassioned presence of that. Because I have had so many people come to me on those live shows, I'm a Reiki this, I'm a Reiki that, and I go, were you taught how to send treatments forward and backwards in time? No, then it's fake Reiki. Simple, it's fake Reiki.
I got that part at least.
Yeah. It's not Reiki, it's something else.
Really?
Yeah.
If sending it backwards and forwards through time?
That is the absolute key to understanding Reiki. If you are not taught that, you are not taught Reiki.
Oh, right. I'm saying that I was taught that.
Okay. So that's in Reiki too. Did they teach you psychic surgery as ART in 3, not as a mastership tuition process? Did you have 150
but
patients?
Just to be clear, the Kundalini part, when you are taught within the system, we do not do that on people. It's done to you just to. It's one of the tools that you can use to kind of further clear yourself out.
Right.
And,
so what that is
help your spiritual growth.
What that is the the blue flame breath, the activation of the symbols that is being put in. Somebody has altered that initiation frequency when you are taken into a master's level. See, that's not Reiki. That's someone that's changing from the original traditions. He should have just given it his own name and not called it Reiki. The specifics of your question is Reiki. Dr. Usui created it. Dr. Hayasha and Dr. Teakata are the only 3 that taught it to lineages of people who would honor it as a tradition of Reiki. Universal flow.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with all that. It does. I mean, I've been doing it since 2010, and it's helped me immeasurably.
And I'm not judging what it is or do. The nature of the question. You see, the other side of Reiki is in attuning people. So attunements itself can be their own healing, and he is multiplying and modifying the attunement process. How long was he a master before he made his system? Do you know that?
I do. Let's see. So I want to say a couple decades, maybe, if my memory is correct.
Okay, so he was around a while. So ultimately,
Yeah.
why did he call it Reiki and not his own process?
Well, it's called Reiki Tumo, and the Tumo part is Sanskrit for Kundalini. Mm-hmm. It just means that in level 2 of Reiki Tumo, you get a Kundalini awakening so that you can then do a Tumo meditation on yourself just to help with your spiritual process.
I get it. You just gave it away.
But there's
Kundalini activation.
There's a difference between Kundalini and Ruach.
Yes. Big. Giant. There's a mistake in his philosophy. Big.
That was a mistake for him to include that in the system?
In the philosophy.
Well, maybe he wasn't taught that. That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
See, there are people out there with limited information knowledge, and this is why the wisdom councils are necessary, and this is also why accountability is necessary, because you can't just run out there and start doing this sort of stuff and not have gone through the initiations that one needs to be able to reach that level. And if anybody out there thinks that they have arrived and they act like they have the all truth and the answer for everything, especially with everything we're talking about in context, you need to run from those people.
Yep.
Because they don't have it all.
They don't.
Because everything that we're working to do, specifically with the Blue Flame Healing Arts and occult science, goes back to the first cosmic law, like I'm talking about. If you were not the master of your own thought and emotion first, and then you start trying to do this stuff, you're gonna get everything, all the mess that unfolds with it.
In a form of a different form of entanglement. So
this is what I am teaching my students. You do not. I don't even teach them magic or get into the higher occult sciences until they've reached a certain level of mastery with their own psychological blueprints. If you don't know what your psychological blueprint is, then when the certain things happen, you're not going to know what to do or why you're reacting a certain way to it. Especially if somebody has a Kundalini awakening.
Is it possible that there's different forms of Kundalini awakening? Because in this particular system, it was really gentle, and the whole idea, philosophical.
Let me insert.
I'm not dismissing Kundalini. Kundalini is an energy stream. But it's not the only one. And if directed right, then yes, it can be used. But it is a very potent energy. And you have to be at a certain level to be able to wield it. If you're not at that level, then it's going to rip through your system like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. Let me add something else in there. So as soon as
it's a very, very powerful energy. The Ruach is actually even more potent.
Right. So as soon as someone activates a Kundalini as a facilitatorship, you have turned on an energy that is attracting harvesting entities. Now, you were probably not taught that in your class, were you? And that is where everything goes wrong. That when a Kundalini is activated, you have to have a protected state of frequency because haunting is coming. You are a giant energy being waiting to be sucked and harvested on.
Right, and this is why I teach drawing the circle of the magician.
Right, you will be haunted.
It's so important.
I cannot tell.
So important.
I cannot tell you how many people from Tantra that I have sexual dehaunting from, because they think they're raising their Kundalini and opening up to the sexual process of wonderment, and no, they just f***ed a ghost. Okay, literally, and that could be 30 years of life force they just had lost. 30 years of life force.
What if you're just completely surrendering to source when you channel
How
Reiki
do you know
and
you're
do your
completely
Kundalini meditations? Is there a protection there? Or?
How do you know you're completely connecting to source if you've been hijacked at the dream world level?
Exactly. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I don't.
You don't.
I can only feel what's in my body and what my body's telling me. And
that's why the occult sciences, the contract revocations, all of those teachings are there of self-discernment, know thyself. That's the key. Self-discipline of knowing the self. That's ultimately what's going to be your journey. We cannot judge experiences good or bad, but we can say what they are or aren't without charge and polarity behind them. I thank you for asking this question. You did give a great frequency so that both Seth and I can give great answers back. Keep practicing what you're doing, but begin to ask questions. What else can I do to make it my modality where I don't have to use the word Reiki? And say, maybe it's time for me to personally expand and explore and add new things to this, like the a la carte system, so you can begin mastering the now skills. Learn new protective styles. Incorporate them into your healing. Observe things in the past and watch how things unfold.
Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling in. All right.
Thank you, Seth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Peace out, man.
You're welcome.
You know, it was a serious situation around him, and he wanted to really get entrenched and involved. And you said, be a healer. Go and do a healing, like learn healing and become a healer. Don't get engaged in that, because being an activist is a trap on certain respects, you know.
The trap.
And to me, like, what's the resolution for it? And this is where I've sort of, like you've said, like abuse and pedophile rings and stuff like that, and some of the stuff done by the hierarchical orders around the world is and as an individual sort of example is horrific, but it's a consistent theme. And to me, the way I handle it is exactly what we said before. It's like master myself. If I've got an issue with it, I'm contributing to it because my emotions are very powerful. And I just, like you said, you do it from the sacred neutral perspective, and you see it as an apparatus of that structure. And for me to negate it, I get better in me. So I use it as a instrument to justify, or not justify, but incentivize for me to get better at me, being me. Like say yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go. I think you've
self-incentivizing is a learned skill, and some people have a really hard time with it because instant gratification is so easy. Well, I got to wait to give myself something. I've got to earn it for myself. No, I can give it to myself right now.
Yeah.
Dollar-based economy, coin-based economy. Valuing your earnings at an hourly or a contractual wage.
Yeah.
Taking the truth and meaning of it away.
Yeah. Like to me, the potential is like if a few people out there actually see the issues in the world, and instead of going in like a moth to a flame sort of thing, moth to a light and getting zapped, you step back. Yep. And if you realize your emotional state is being triggered by this, something external to you, and you're not a self-master for it, what's the path to mastering it and not being affected by it? So, and if people actually, to me, the unexplored path and potential is that if people actually use what goes on as a instrument to identify that they're not a master of themselves, and then choose to explore self-mastery, to me that's the path to negation, mate. Because what will happen over time is, you know,
let's take that a little further. The path to negation is understanding that you have the power to negate.
Yes.
That's the first part of awareness. The second part of awareness is when you go to use that skill and you've actually changed something, negated something in your life, will your awareness slide back down to negation of your negation? Or will you engage the discipline to make sure that whatever part of the repetitive side of you wants to repeat it?
Yeah.
Because it knew nothing more.
Yes.
Sometimes we take our awareness and we negate something that's super powerful undercurrents in our life, such as depression, regression, shame, blame, and guilt. That's why the contract revocations are so effective for some people and other people ineffective because they can't put the power behind it.
Yeah.
Or they won't confront the repetitive process that brings it back.
Yeah.
And that's with any religious or esoteric practice system. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
If you're going to change, you're going to change based off of the rules of yourself.
Yeah. Because, like, maybe if I dare associate what I said, it's like a big influence on that is the news and the media. And not everything is actually true. It's just there to actually get you off balance on an emotional level, to actually go down a path which makes you potentially vulnerable for other things. So, or negate your energy when you could have done something, had a brilliant idea or something, you know.
I got a little bit of a truth here to state to everyone. What I do is so ungodly easy that once you experience it on your own, you'll be like, wow, that's easy. Okay? I maintain about 20 hours a month to do it at the level that I'm doing. I mean, the serious levels, you know, where I could repeat it instantly, so on and so forth. But when you first get into it and you hobby into it, but you know your truth, you realize how easy it is to do.
Yeah.
Really easy.
Yeah.
Really easy. I'm engaging all of my own belief systems into myself.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a 5-year archive.
Yeah, and that's where I've been going through to actually offer it in a different way, so people actually either find it,
Right, you hear the consistent message over and over again. You know, I used to look at the chat rooms and the Facebooks and stuff, and one of these things I would see is, like in the beginning, was, you know, the people that were trying to figure out if I was lying, telling the truth, or full of bullshit, or this or that. I would see this common theme is, no matter what it is, I don't think it's possible for anyone to stay that long and not miss one lie, or it doesn't matter. This is beyond being able to make it up. Everything connects.
Yeah. To me, the way I see it, mate, and maybe this is the way other people don't see it, is like, all you've done to me is offer how amazing existence is. And I'm craving to want to know how much more amazing it is. So I just I get nourished by exploring it.
And I show it through the patterns, the subtle patterns that are in each of the messages. Now, you know, you've listened to you know, a significant portion, and you've discovered the common and uncommon and meta messages that are there, and other forms and other nuggets that come because I'm encoding all the light of my knowledge in each word.
Absolutely.
Not just the subject matter of what's being spoken about.
Yeah, like, to me, you're the MJ of truth, mate. Knocking down threes, like, for eternity. You know what I mean? Hitting game winners, like, with every, like, I've had this chat to Andrew about, like, I got into recently the band Midnight Oil, and I've been into a DJ called Tiesto for a long time, and, like, I love Michael Jordan, another Formula One car driver called Ayrton Senna, and the consistent theme with these beings is, in everything they do the best they can in every moment. There's no half-assed effort or 50% here or there. It's I'm going to give my best in every moment and do my best. And if that's not good enough, so be it. You know what I mean? And to me, that's an expression I try and do in everything. Like, if I've got, you know, like you said about being the self-master, it's like, to me, if I can actually have the energy to walk 5Ks to go to my city when I was really tired just to get the food that I needed, I may feel like I didn't have it in me, but then I actually get off my butt and do it, and it's not that hard. It's just that get the ball rolling sort of theme, and to me,
And I face that every day too, walking versus driving. It's easy to drive, and it's easy not to walk each day.
Yeah. But going back to what I said about my perception of your information, to me it was another thing, not just how amazing existence is and to be human and how vast there is out there potentially waiting for us. To me, it was also a risk not taking on board your information. Because what if Andrew is right, and what if I'm choosing not to take it on? What does that say about me, and what does it make me potentially vulnerable for that I'm not aware of? You know what I mean? And
puts
to
you
me,
in charge of polarity instead of neutrality. Accepting the information as information that may have validity upon you using hindsight or foresight with it.
Yeah, because it wasn't so much a risk; it was just a variable considering your information. Like you're out there and you're so like offering so much stuff, and I've been in my ups and downs and walked away from your stuff and then come back, and it was like, to me, you filled so many gaps, and it was I can't deny this anymore. You know, it's relentless, and it offered me so many clarities on the reality. To me, it was an investment in my existence to have an awareness of your stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So to me, it was, I've done stock trading and risk analysis and stuff like that. To me, the risk was, what gaps do I leave in myself if I'm not willing to consider his information? And then, to me, it was like, all right, I've had enough validity. I've listened to these classic callers and stuff. I've hear the reaction of the people in their real time. I can tune in because I'm very empathic and I can entertain myself in that situation and stuff. It was obvious. So it was
obvious. I've said this many times before. We're going to need 1 billion healers here.
So those healers are us.
Us.
And we have to step up to the plate and learn first how to heal ourselves.
Yep.
Because you can't heal somebody else till you heal yourself.
And if somebody else doesn't want to be healed, you can't make them.
And you can't make them, right. You're going against their, okay.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.